This story is about a prophet named Elijah. Elijah was a regular man who made mistakes, who was afraid sometimes, yet when it really mattered, he trusted God. Elijah did amazing things with God's help, and God did amazing things for Elijah. A few things you should know before we start the story is that the land of Israel where Elijah was going was very evil. There was a king named Ahab who believed in a god named Baal, the weather god. He and most of the people worshiped this god and did many things that the Bible says we shouldn't do. King Ahab also had a wife named Jezebel. The king and his wife both came from very evil families. Together they helped make Israel a place that God did not like. That's why God sent Elijah. He would show the people that God was more powerful and the one they should be worshiping instead. It all started when Elijah was told by God to deliver a message to King Ahab. Elijah went to Ahab and told him, "My God has told me that there will be no rain or even dew in the next 3 years until I tell it to." I'm going to guess that Ahab didn't believe this would happen because he worshiped Baal, who was the lord of the weather, and he should have been able to give rain whenever the people prayed for it. Now just think for a second if you had no rain, snow, or even dew for 3 years. Rivers and lakes would get very small or dry up completely. Since that's where we get our water from, we probably wouldn't be able to have baths or flush toilets anymore. Getting a drink of water wouldn't be easy anymore. We might only be allowed to have 1 cup of water a day. After Elijah told King Ahab what would happen, the Lord told Elijah to go and hide. And while there would be no rain and not much food in the land, God made sure Elijah had what he needed. He stayed by a brook where there was water for him to drink, and a type of bird called a raven who brought him bread and meat for breakfast and supper every day. After some time passed, the brook that Elijah was drinking from dried up, and there was no more water to drink. So God told Elijah to go to a place called Zarephath. There he would find a lady who would give him food and water to drink. So Elijah trusted God and did just what he said. When Elijah got to the entrance of the town, he saw a woman there gathering wood. He asked her, "Would you please bring me a little water in a cup so I can drink and a small piece of bread?" She replied, "I believe in God as you do, but I don't have any bread to eat, just a small amount of flour in a jar and a little oil in a jug. I was just going to go home and make the rest of the food for me and my son, and then we will probably die because we will have no food left." Elijah said to her, "Don't be afraid. Go home and make the food for you and your son, but first make a small loaf of bread for me and bring it to me. The Lord has told me that if you do this, your jar of flour will never go empty, and the jug of oil will not go dry until the day the Lord gives rain on the land." So she went home and did as Elijah had told her, and every day there was food for Elijah, the woman, and her son. Imagine trying to empty a glass of water and it never goes empty. This was another of God's amazing miracles. Everything was going fine until the woman's son got sick and died. She went to Elijah for help. She thought God was punishing her for all the mistakes she'd made. So Elijah rushed over to her house and said, "Give me your son." He took the boy in his arms to the room upstairs where he was staying. Then he cried out to the Lord, "O Lord my God, please let this boy live again." Elijah spread his hands over the boy and cried out to God like this 3 times. The Lord heard his cry, and the boy began to breathe. Elijah picked up the boy and took him back downstairs to his mother and said, "Look, God answered my prayer. Your son is alive." As the woman hugged and kissed her son, she said to Elijah, "Thank you. I know that the Lord is with you, and whatever you say is true." Now, if you think that's a cool story, that's only the first half. God has much more in store for Elijah. Elijah still has to show the people of Israel, King Ahab and Jezebel, that Baal is not God. Elijah doesn't know how he's going to do this, but God has it all planned out.